Well, hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining with us today and to hear about some information that we believe is going to be life-changing. And hold on one second. I think our audio is messing up a little bit here, so please, I apologize. I think the technology is really good when it works. And so if you hear any background noise or any kind of bad, I got an audio person that's monitoring the sound for me. So if you can't hear me, please send me a text. And I think tonight we're going to share some information that's really and truly going to be life changing. If you listen for a few minutes and take this information in and apply it not only to your life, but also to that of your friends and family by sharing it with them, it can turn everything around in a pretty big time way. So I'm not going to talk about all the things that we would like to cover tonight because it would take way, way too much time. But I'm just going to highlight a few things. Well, my audio man, Damon, said everything is pretty clear. Thank you, Damon. So there's 9 things here that we can talk about. We're going to highlight pay yourself first, pay off debt. No, will not pay off debt. Discover the rule of 72, defer taxes, become an owner, not a loaner, invest with professional money management. Then we're going to kind of close by saying you can do it. I think what has happened over the years, if you come from where I come from, kind of a poor, real poor family, a background, we were not told we could invest money. We didn't even talk about investing money. It took everything that we could have just to survive, just to make it. And so this subject never came up in our home. So paying yourself first, well, we had to pay the water bill, light bill, gas bill, cable TV. We had to pay food, shelter, transportation. We couldn't pay ourselves first. But tonight we're going to talk about how important this is. And there's a 3-account system I want to talk to you about real briefly. And to have a real complete program, it's important to have these 3 things in place. One is an emergency fund. Now, ladies and gentlemen, an emergency fund is not like just a savings account. It's not a vacation account. It's for emergencies if things were to come up all of a sudden. And the air conditioning goes out in the house, they got about tires on the car, something that is an emergency. The next important account is a short-term account. This is an account that you plan to make a purchase in the next 3 to 5 years. That could be a down payment on a house, a down payment on a car. The third one is the wealth building account. And this is very important, ladies and gentlemen, because at some point we're going to get to a place in life or time in life where we might want to slow down. If we get to that time in life, we want to slow down and we don't have things in place, it's going to be some pretty difficult days ahead. The next important thing I'm going to talk to you about is something called the Rule of 72. This rule has been around for a very long time now. And the rule says if we divide our rate of return into the number 72, it's going to give us the number of years it takes our money to double. So sometimes we wonder why one person can retire and have so much and travel all over the place and get a nice car to travel in and go to all the reunions, all the vacations, the class reunions, because they have the resources to get that done, but they had a plan. So this rule says if you're getting 3% on your money, the rule says that the return, your money is going to double every 24 years. Here's a case where they have $10,000. In 24 years, that 10,000 goes to 20,000. 24 more years, 40,000. But what would happen if they get just a little bit higher rate of return? If they go to 6%, what would happen? Let's look at that. It's going to double every 12 years. So when they would have had 40,000 in 48 years, they got 160,000. You may say, Ricky, that's a long time. But look at 12%. It's going to double every 6 years. So in 48 years, that's $2.5 million. So based on the rule of 72, by getting 12 as opposed to getting 3, they're going to have 6 times more money. Now think about this. You got 2 people, got the same amount of money saved, work on the same job, live the same length of time, live in the same neighborhood, same size house, drive the same car, made the same amount of money. but one has 2.5 million and one has nowhere within smelling distance of that amount of money, because one learned about investing and one is trying to save. Now let's talk about starting early. Does it pay to start early? You know, we don't have any grandkids yet, but when that child is when they do come, we're gonna put aside a pretty nice sum for that grandchild at birth. So we know down the road what's going to happen. This is generational wealth we're talking about now. Leaving an inheritance, building an inheritance, leaving a legacy. Let's look at what just 1,000 would do if they put aside 1,000 at that child's birth. When that child gets to, now this is going to sound like a long time, 67 years old, that 1,000 would have grown to $406,000. Sometimes we wonder how kids can get out of college and already have a big home, get out of college and already have a nice car. You go into some real nice neighborhoods, you see tricycles and big wheels in the yard and swings and this type of thing. And the houses are $750,000, 500,000, $1 million. How in the world did they do it? I'm gonna show this again. They put in 1,000 at birth. And when that child hits 67 years old, that's $406,000, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a secret. Compound interest is like magic. It's the most powerful force in the universe because it's money making money on top of money on top of money. Let's look at another concept. I want to highlight 3 words: just a little. Now, I think right here, it's important that we start thinking about getting our kids and grandkids, I mean, little bitty kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, investing money. It's called a kiddie Roth IRA, a minor Roth IRA. Now, talk to your tax person about the documentations that you have to have when they have a little part-time jobs around the house, cleaning the house, washing dishes, raking the yard, cutting the grass, whatever it may be. But they can start a kiddie Roth IRA. Now, look at this. Put aside $20 a month. Over a period of 10 years, that child has $3,900. Let me just ask you this. How many 15-year-olds do you know that's got almost $4,000 saved? Start at 5, good for 10 years, almost $4,000 saved. Very few. Now think about this. If they take it up a little bit, go to $100 a month, that's $19,500. Well, if we can get our kids and grandkids to start thinking about putting money back and they get account statements with their little names on the statement and show them how that money is growing, it provides a motivation. Now, does it make a difference to go a little bit further? Yes, it does. If they go down the road, 40 years down the road, saving $100 a month, that's $471,000. Saving 20 is almost $100,000. Somebody may say, Ricky, that's not a whole lot of money in 40 years. But guess what? Many get down the road 40 years and have a goose egg. Well, anything is better than a goose egg, right? So we're trying to encourage those that we know, those that we love, those that we go to church with, those that we work with in our communities, in our families, to change the habit of spending and embrace a habit of saving. Now we're going to talk about deferring taxes. Now, all of us know Uncle Sam is going to get his off the what? Top. He don't trust employees to pay them every Friday because Uncle Sam will not get it. Okay, well, he knows that, right? So he takes it off the top of that, from that W-2 world. Well, let's take a look at what would happen if we can defer taxes on different kinds of investments. Here's a case of putting in $500 a month. I want you to focus on that 30-year column, that third column. If they put that $500 a month aside every month, pay taxes on all the earnings in 30 years at a reasonable rate of return, say 9%, they got $486,000. On the next column, if the taxes are deferred on the return, not paying any taxes on the growth of that money, the dividends, the capital gains, not paying any taxes on the growth of the money, taxes are deferred. They got $719,000. In that green one, in 30 years. That's 915,000. How, Ricky? Because the contributions are deferred and the taxes are deferred. So that could be a 401k, 403b, 457, any kind of tax sheltered account at work. There's too many people that have access to retirement programs at work that they're not contributing to. And also, the employer, in many cases, is matching dollar for dollar up to a certain amount. Ladies and gentlemen, that's free money. And it's really important to look down the road because that's going to make a huge difference when it's time. If you decide to retire at 65, 75, whatever that age is, you want to have the money put back to get that done. Now, which IRA is right for you? You got a traditional IRA where the funds are deductible and it brings down your adjusted gross income. You have one where the funds are not deductible. And that's okay if it's not deductible because the dividends, the earnings, the growth grows tax deferred. And when you take that money from the traditional IRA, your 401k, your 403b, your 457, you're going to pay taxes when you take the money out, but that's okay because the objective is to get to a time in life to retire with some dignity and not just have to work unless you really just want to work. Then that Roth IRA, this is a big deal right here. Now, it's not deductible, but all the earnings, as I mentioned, your dividends, your capital gains, your asset appreciation, all this money grows, all the earnings grow tax deferred. You're not getting a 1099 every year paying taxes on the growth. Now, here's what's real good about the Roth IRA. If you don't touch that money for the first 5 years, when you take that money out as 59 and a half, you or beyond, you can take out every dime, pay no taxes, and pay no penalties. And there's a lot of other investment opportunities and advantages to having a Roth IRA as well that we don't have time to talk about tonight. But believe me, it's important to have. It's important for the parent to have. It's important for the children to have as well. Now, here's another important thing we're going to talk about: becoming an owner, not a loaner. What do you mean become an owner, not Ricky? Well, let's take a look at this. Banks usually pay a real low rate of return. Now, we all know that's to be the case. But when it's time to borrow money, they turn around and lend you pretty much your money at a high rate of return. And they take that money that you put into the bank that they're going to give you a ridiculous low rate of return, and they put that money in the American economy. And they get a high return on your money. And so when you go into the bank, we go into the bank, they're going to smile. Hello, Mr. Pitts. How are you doing today? Make you feel real good like you're a big boy, okay? Like and we say back home, a big dog. But listen, they can make you feel like a big dog when they're taking that money and making all the money on our money. Now, that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Now, here's what we should do here. Bypass the middleman. Put our money where the banks are putting theirs. And get the same kind of return on ours that the banks are getting on theirs. We can do that, because it makes a huge difference over time. Let's take a look at that. There's another important thing that we got to keep in mind, and the banks use this all the time. And I'm from a small town, as I mentioned earlier, from Lochapoka, Alabama. And we was always told, the bank gonna give me a guarantee. And the old folks didn't say guarantee, they said guarantee. Gonna guarantee it. Let's take a look at a guarantee. Here's $10,000 here at a bank. Let's say a bank, local bank, getting 1.5%. Well, they're gonna make $150 in interest that year. If they're in a 22% tax bracket, they're gonna pay $33 of that in taxes. So the net earnings is not 150, it's 117, resulting in a balance of 10,117. However, if inflation is 5%, it's going to bring that buying power down to 96.35. So what do they have? Is that a guarantee? It's a guaranteed loss. You see, information is very powerful, and people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge in so many areas, and money is just one of them. Let's talk about invest with professional money management. This is also very important because the typical investor don't have the time. The typical investor don't have the interest to know who to invest in and who not to invest in. But mutual funds, they got a full-time commitment. You got individual investors that place their money with professional money managers, and they take those funds and divide it into the American economy. You've heard of Procter & Gamble. You've heard of Microsoft. You've heard of Pfizer, McDonald's, Verizon, Netflix, Amazon. And what's amazing about this whole process here is one mutual fund can have up to 150 stocks in that one fund. So you're very diversified. You hear the old folks say, don't put all your eggs where? That's right, in one basket. And that's what mutual funds practice, is that concept. Now, there are 3 Ds to investing. And I want to really, as I get ready to bring this meeting to a close here, I want to really bring this part home. Discipline, staying focused, staying invested through all the different market activities, all the volatility. When the market is up, stay focused. When the market is down, stay focused. Don't invest with the headlines, invest with your head. This is a long-term journey, and down the road, which is coming, we're gonna be glad that we did. The next one is diversification. That goes back to what I said a few moments ago. There's no single investment that's going to be perfect. Some are going to be up sometimes, some are going to be down sometimes. But if we are consistent, we can buy when they're up and we can buy when they're down. We're not worried about all the volatility, all the noise that's going on, because over time in this country, over time, we've always done very, very well. Now let's look at the third one, dollar cost averaging. Now this gets to the point to where if we decide to put aside $50 a month, $75 a month, $100 a month, $150 a month, 500, 1,000, whatever that dollar amount you decide to put aside per month, be consistent. So again, when the market is up, you invest that $500 a month, that $50 a month. When the market is down, you're doing the same thing. Now, does it make a big difference? Let's take a look at that. Investor A and Investor B, they're both putting aside $100 per month. One's putting money aside in a rising market. And boy, he feels so good. He said, oh, I'm doing real good because, man, it's up and up and up and up. Away we go. The other guy's put his money in when the market was up and down, a fluctuating market. And he didn't worry about it because he was doing it for the long term. They both were putting in $100 a month. Let's look at the difference. Over that period of 6 months, they both put in $100 a month every single month. So in the grand total they invested was $600 over that period of 6 months. But one accumulated on the very bottom there, if you look, 125.95 shares. The one on the top accumulated 42.28 shares. Now 42.28, the share price is at $20 a share at that point, versus on the bottom, 125.95 shares, and the share price is at $10. Having 125 shares at 10 is a whole lot more than having 42 shares at 20. This is why it's important when investing money not to talk to, let me use a hometown term, Lil Joe. Don't talk to Baby Bruh, because Baby Bruh don't know anything about the investment world. Little Joe, that's not what he does for a living. And so talk with an investment advisor, a financial coach. This is what they do for a living. And so when a person starts on this journey, looking down the road and goes and talk to his cousin that owes him $25 right now, and the cousin say, I wouldn't do that if I were you, let me just encourage you, don't take that cousin's advice. Now, I want to bring it to a close by saying this. The path, and that's the key word, it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a path that's going to be outlined by a financial advisor. The financial independence is going to start with something, and that's understanding. Not the entire gamut of investing, understanding a few concepts. And if we get started with these concepts and win the small battles every day, have a simple game plan, and follow the plan, ladies and gentlemen. Follow the plan. It works out to your advantage. As I close, there's 5 things I want you to think about. Number 1 is protection. Make sure that the income is covered in the event of your demise. This is very, very critical. Number 2 is look at the debt that you have in your life. Look at the mortgage. Look at the car payments. Look at the Visa cards, the MasterCard. Look at any personal loans and get those in place and have a game plan to knock them out. The third thing is going to be important is to have a budget, to realize and know what's coming in, what's going out, and not spend more than you have coming in. That's a budget. The fourth thing is going to be investing money. That's your 401ks, that's your Roth IRAs, that's your 403bs, that's your 457s. That's anything that you have at work, that's your TSPs, a tax sheltered account, because that looks down the road when it's time to leave the job for the last time and enjoy yourself. The last one is income. If what you have coming in, if anybody, what we have coming in is not enough to make everything come together, it's going to be important to give yourself permission to do something to generate more income. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't want to hold you real long tonight. We appreciate your time. Want to encourage you to get with the person that invited you out tonight. And let's talk about this in more detail. And let's talk about going to the next level. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the night, a very happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, and a very prosperous New Year. And thank you all for joining with us tonight. Take care.